Hi, my loves. This is Raven from Raven's Reviews, and welcome back to my channel. So today, with all of that gorgeous Modelones PR, y'all, that we unboxed yesterday, we are going to slay little Autumn's phalanges. Now, she came in today and she was very sad. She said she was going through a stressful time and she done bit off all of her fingernails. But I said, nay, have no fear. We've got everything we need that's in this beautiful PR box they sent. And not only that, there's these darling natural tips that I got in the beginning of my nail journey. And I just told her, leave your phalanges with me. We are going to do a full set. And then you'll be able to have a night out on the town. So this is going to be a part series, part 1 and part 2. This very first part is going to be all of the prep work, and that will include using their entire system, their dehydrator, primer. We are, as you see, buffing up the tips in preparation. We are going to be using those tips. We're going to be using these pretty stiletto tips, and we are also going to be doing a full set on her with the polygel. Now that will include shaping, buffing, the whole thing. And then once her phalanges are all ready, we're going to have a part 2, which will be the nail art. But this will consist of the full set enhancement. I'm so excited. So the number 1 name in the game is cleanse. So you are going to see a lot of cleansing up in here. Now, most of that cleansing is going to be getting rid of the oil on that natural nail plate and as well getting any dusties. But we don't have to worry because Modelones also sent over their dehydrator, which will completely dehydrate that natural nail plate away from like all of the oils and anything that my model could be touching. So right now we are going to go first into that dehydrator that we were talking about, and then we are going to prime. Now what's really important is I am doing this full set as if this was a real living human being. So even though this is a practice hand, you already heard, she has a name and everything, personality for days. So I want to be very careful and work on her exactly how I would work on a living person, like a living human being. So I was very careful, first off, when I was using that e-file, not to cut any of her cuticle. I wanted to make sure that none of her skin was hurt in the preparation, but that prep is so key. We do not want these popping off early. We want them to last 3 to 4 weeks. We want her to be able to do all of the things with no fear. Now, hindsight is always 2020. So it's very interesting upon like the review of this video and doing the voiceover because I've already had the experience of the entire filming and working with the products. So I am really impressed with their dehydrator and primer. I love them. They're air drying, but they do not take forever to air dry. It is literally chef's kiss. There is like the adhesion that we had with the polygel was, you could not tell where the polygel ended and the nail began, like the natural nail plate. It just all merged together and became one, baby. I was so in love with this formula, how it worked, but there's also some troubleshooting I had to do during filming, and again, I've never worked with their polygel, so I didn't know the limits, and I usually like to push it to and past its limits so that I can truly understand the product. So interesting enough, I actually had a beautiful subscriber. She commented on the PR video and she said that she watched a lot of professional nail artists, nail techs. She actually said like a polygel pro, and they didn't like the Modelones formula. Now I found that very interesting because when I used the swatch gems, I had no problem. And the way it self-leveled and the way it allowed me to manipulate it perfectly, I was in love. So I was wondering, why did, maybe the people that she watched have those issues? And she mentioned the slip solution. and an oily finish. And I thought it was very interesting because I did have an oily finish on my swatch gems that I did completely cleanse and wipe off and then continue. So I wanted to start off this very first nail just going in. I actually went in ham because my whole plan was to do the 3 or 2 bead method, which I really encourage you if you're working with polygels, acrylics. It is so beautiful to start that bead right at that cuticle and then basically just gently bring it out so it's very thin on that free edge, and then go in with that second bead where you're going to really do the apex. Now, this first nail, I just put a whole glob on there. I don't know, I got overexcited and I just went ham. But I loved that I did that. Because I had too much polygel, as I was using the slip solution, it's like it became like gum. And I was like, oh no. In the back of my head, I'm like, this is what that beautiful nail sister was talking about. And, you know, I'm going to have all these problems and I'm not going to be able to do this set. And I just froze. And I'm like, no, no, no. On this channel here, we do not do any negative self-talk. And instead of me just jump and ship right now, how about if I troubleshoot? So I thought, if potentially the slip solution was adding more oil to the mixture, let's see how it fares with rubbing alcohol. Oh my gosh, upon using rubbing alcohol, y'all, and I was using 99%, it was a dream to work with this polygel. I had no issues. It was just so beautiful, and I'm freaking out. So though I love their, like the cap and everything on their slip solution, I personally I used everything else in their system. As you saw, I used the base coat. I even used the base coat to attach the nail tips. Like I made sure I used all of the things. So like the Dehydrator, Primer, base coat, their polygel. I will be using their top coat like when we get into the design. The only thing I didn't use was the slip solution, in which I substituted rubbing alcohol. And I can't get over how beautiful it turned out. So I would definitely encourage, like, science and playing around with your nail stuff is so important because every product works differently. They're going to have different formulas. Some things are going to work better with its individual system. Some things are going to work, you know, like you just got to play around and find out. And I'm really happy I did not let that kind of like demon or devil on my shoulder get the best of me, because when I just took a second and then troubleshooted, grabbed some rubbing alcohol and tried again, I could not get over how easy it was to work with. Now, after all of that, I did not want to have any issues with adhesion or anything like that. So though I did buff those natural tips, I also put a little bit of primer on them. And I find that made that polygel like hug, completely adhere like perfection. And also I'm so impressed because, again, though this is kind of sheer, once you start building it up, it is quite opaque. And the UV had no issue curing. So I was like very impressed with that. Okay, so there's a reason, like I'm like, let me take a couple steps back. The reason why I'm saying that is there was a polygel I tried in the beginning of my nail career, and it was like a similar color to this, and I cured it for like 6 minutes because I cured it for 2 minutes and then I got scared. I cured it for another 2 minutes and then I was like, well, like, what if it didn't cure properly? So I cured it again. And then I was buffing and it like squirted out the side of the nail. And I was freaking out. At that point, I was still using a mini lamp. So I don't know, like that lamp was probably not strong enough. And again, even the technology with the mini lamps have gotten so much better and so much stronger than the one that I was originally using. But I had so many issues. So even with this kind of opacity, I was a little bit nervous and I wanted to make sure it cured. But within 1 minute, under my LED Kiara Sky lamp, it was rock solid. And that's really what I love too, is polygel is the hybrid of acrylic and gel. So Personally, I actually can't use it on my own hands because I'm allergic to acrylic. I pray that allergy eventually dies down because I would love to use this on my nails. Because truly, polygel and acrogel are like the best of both worlds. It puts like the benefits of both, and you just get this dynamic, amazing product. First of all, you don't have to deal with monomers that can potentially be, very heavily scented if you have children or animals in the home, things like that. You don't have to worry about any of that. There's also a setting time with acrylic. You don't got to worry about that. You just got to put it in that lamp, put it on that bake, set it and forget it. And also, like, the rigidity of it. Like, honestly, when I was putting just clear polygel on my natural phalanges, I also had such long, healthy, strong nails. But sadly, I was using a company that I just don't know how good the ingredients were, and I had my own issues with horrible allergic reactions and things like that. But I quickly learned that not all, polygels, acrylics, gel polishes, builder gels, all of these things, they're not all made equal. There's all sorts of different ingredients, products inside, things like that, and they're going to all react differently, even with your own chemistry makeup, right? So I do pray though one day I can use this because playing with this polygel, it brought back the love for me. I also really love working with polygel because first of all, I'm allergic to acrylic, but there's not a lot of dust here. And if you're really working, like I'm trying to work so clean, so smooth, making sure I am not bulking out, so I'm not putting excess product at that free edge or the cuticle. The most amount of the product, even that second bead, is going to be at that apex. So because I pay such close attention to that, I barely had to buff, like shape anything. Like the shape work was such, like, so tiny in this set. And also, because we're just going to say all the things I love, it's like, I'm sorry, I had to take a big gulp for this. When you use acrylic powder, you know how it's fine and it kind of goes in the air? For somebody like me that's allergic to it, I end up sneezing up a storm even with my mask on. It's like a whole thing. For some reason, like the mixture of the acrylic and the gel, it like is heavy, and so when you're buffing, it like falls versus like stays in the air. So like I had way less exposure and it made doing this set a dream. So for my first time using Modelones Polygel, like in a full set, I absolutely loved it. And thank you so much, teachers, Bougie Nail and Stuff. That is the beautiful sister that mentioned about the oily consistency of the slip solution and just some of the things that she had observed. And I really do appreciate that. Thank you to everybody that commented and watched the PR unboxing. I really hope you love the first full set using these products. Now, this ain't over. Don't worry. This was just a part 1, which was the full set. Now, part 2 is going to be all of the nail art magic. Thank you so much for coming into today's video. I am sending you so much love and light wherever you are in the world, and the biggest hug, and I can't wait to see you in tomorrow's video. Thank you so much for watching.